What's up, YouTube? It's Queen Nadine, and we are back with another episode of Wealthy Baggage. Right now, I am in the car, about to go get some food. I thought, why not bring you guys on the way and invite you guys into our conversation. Thank you so much for joining. I pray that whatever you guys are going through, you remember that this too shall pass. Keep your head up, stay focused, and stay prayed up, especially during these times in the world. Rayham is coming right now, and then we're gonna go grab some food. And so talking about how during COVID, when people are depressed or you're going through something, a lot of people like to isolate themselves, which is understandable, especially if you are, like around a lot of people that may not be the best or maybe going through a lot. So it's very understandable to isolate yourself. I understand that. But at the same time, it is also very imperative that we have communication with others and keep people that's in high spirits around us to bring us up, and allow people to know, and just so that way you're not alone truly in this world, even though sometimes it gets hard when we feel alone. So we just want to talk about something that came to conversation with us in personal conversation, and that's a lot of men or women, boys and girls, are not really being taught how to treat their partners in relationships, For me personally, I was never sat down and told, these are the qualities that you look for in a man, or these are the qualities that you look for, even in friendships or in things to that nature. I wasn't really taught that. I was shown, I had a role model of what a man, I would say should look like or be like, and represent. But even in that, it was pretty much flawed, because we all are human, we all have flaws.
Right.
So there's people that have no role model at all of what a man should look like or how they should be treated or anything, because they've never been raised with their father, had no father figures, and things of that nature. Now they're forced to go into this world and to love and to be in relationships, but don't even know how to properly be in a relationship. How. So, can you speak on your perspective for men, or a boy? Were you taught how to treat a woman? How did you learn?
I don't remember when being taught anything comes to mind. I always grew up watching, because we're a society of learned behavior. We begin to learn from other people's behavior patterns, and then we begin to take on that makeup. And so, me personally, I just knew about attraction. I knew what I liked naturally. I knew what I liked, and then I kind of would appropriate behavior to what I seen. And so then I would begin to try to outline myself to how another man would be when it comes to you need a charge? When it comes to being an adult or a male figure. I just watched everybody in the hood. I watched all my uncles. I watched my grandfather. I watched some of my older cousins. And then, you had extensions of the family who would be around us. And then, they brought their personality. I always was a big believer of, male role models. But then when you really put that type of pressure on a man who doesn't know because his father never taught him, no man wants to be a male role model. In retrospect, growing up, you don't, because it's I don't know anything. You begin to experience things now, and then maybe you can, precipitate it to the younger generation in the form of, whatever languages of the culture today. But, me personally, I didn't see my first real outline of a man until I got incarcerated. So being incarcerated, you go in thinking the most grotesque things about the prison system, and they are bad. It's horrific. But when it's not about the system, and it's not about, prosecutory transcripts that may outline you as a menace, and you really take in the internal factor where you're trying to really try to fix your life, trying to get your mess together, you begin to look around again. You take a gander again, and you find some guys that's real men. Like they have the arithmetic, the writing, the science, the technology is all in there. Like some guys who just never really were able to get a chance to develop in society has developed in there, and they have engineered some great spiritual ingenuity, to say the least. And I've seen some guys that was well kept, was always woke up inspired, God fearing. I practiced being a vegan because of some of the representation that was in there, and I also learned from some of that representation as well. Well-spoken men who had great philosophy and perspectives of the world that couldn't capture my imagination had I not came across some of those men. But today, babe, oh man, I think coming across guys like that helped me understand what the optics were like, because there's a certain perception that goes with being a man as well. The perception isn't necessarily alpha, but you just want to be perceived reliable. You want to be received dependable to certain outcomes. You always want to make sure you have that type of respect as a man. It don't matter the physicality, it don't matter the shape nor size, complexion. Always be intelligent, but intelligence is just knowing your nature. You don't have to be like the brightest in the room all the time. You can take a step back and allow another part of one's ecosystem to take form. And so that's being a man comes with some we breed complexities in what it means to be these figureheads, these spearheads to children. But I think a lot of times we drop the ball when we buy into other people's idea of what that looks like. I think we should go to the old concept of each one teach one, and it takes a village. What you think?
So it was student driver. So I agree with that, because even for me, what I always say, like being a woman, for women, a lot of women, I wasn't really taught how to be a woman. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And one of the role models of one of the people that I've watched growing up as a woman, was my adopted mother. But there was even in that system, you're not really taught how. Like I wasn't taught, not even about pads and stuff like that. Like when I was younger, like every female, like when they get their period, well, many females when they get their period, it's a huge part of their lives, like our lives, because it's like, oh, this is, you're a woman now, kind of. But no one ever sat me down and had a conversation like, this is a pad, this is a part of the cycle. I learned I went to an all-girls school that I chose to go to. I went to an all-girls school, so I learned from my peers. A lot of the time from my peers. We only had, I think, one sex education class, and I don't even think I was able to go.
We had one of those. It was just called health.
But even that health, those classes or whatever, you're still taught. You're not really, like, people need those conversations, like, okay, this is how you carry yourself as a woman. So I'm thankful that I'm happy that I went to the all-girls school that I did go to, because we were reading poems like Phenomenal Woman, Pretty Woman, Wonder Where My Secret Lies, and those type of things, and that helped to kind of shape and mold me. But to have it makes a huge difference when you have a woman that is in your life that's like, hey, this is ladylike, this isn't ladylike, or something, or so this is your period and this is what this means, and you're going to go through these hormonal changes and this is what hormones are, you know. Instead of making it seem like you're psycho, you know, like you're crazy, like, oh, you have an attitude or whatever the case is. So I had to deal with that, you know. Another thing is I wasn't really taught I wasn't really told like what to look out for in a relationship. Like, so in my household, the thing was I was never able to be in a relationship. It was never like, oh, you can be a relationship. It was like no one ever taught me like, oh, this is, you know, being in a relationship. This is, you know what I'm saying? Look for this type of guy.
Examples? What were some of your examples when it came to relationships that you've seen around you that gave you an idea like, hey, this looks dreamy, or this is what I fantasize to have one day for myself? Like, did you have any of those examples, and who were they?
Mine was more so like fairy tales and Disney type of thing. Like watching shows and be like, oh, like I watched Degrassi and I'd be like, oh my God, there's characters on this show, and I'm like, this is like, oh, this is what a relationship looks like, you know. I did have a 2-parent household, but even their relationship, no, honestly, I didn't want to be like them. Like, and it's like there were certain things I'm like, I don't want to be like this and I don't want to be like that. Like when it comes to for a man, I know, like I don't like when guys sag their pants and all this extra stuff, because I didn't have that. That was an example of the man that I had in front of me in my life, you know. But he did also have his own flaws, so I was able to extract some of those things and be like, you know, I want a man that doesn't sag his pants and do all of these things, that's able to provide and all that, because that was the example that I had. But when it came to the character of the person and what they believe in and how they treat me and things of that nature, even in my house, I think I was able to do that. You know, like I had that example. But being in a relationship, I didn't know how to be in a relationship with a person, because number one, even in my own personal household, I had issues with my father figure. So that carried out to other things, like in relationships. The mother figure that I had in my household, we didn't have the best relationship. So that carried out to how I'm seeing myself as a woman. That interrupted and disrupted that as well. Because it's like, you know, even when it came to me being molded and shaped by the Most High God into the woman, physically, like I'm talking about like wearing, like, you know, going bra shopping and things of that nature. It was never comfortable. It was uncomfortable. It was like kind of like I was being told like to not like my body, not to hate my body. Like I couldn't help that my breasts were growing, you know. But instead of like, oh yeah, you know, going bra shopping, this is your size, it was more like I'm being condemned for my body growing, for me growing into my figure and shape. So I think that that in households is very important for women to not body shame the child, to not body shame the man or female. Because there's men, I think there's boys that's told, you're not a man, you know, because you can't do this, or then you're not a man. There's men being taught, brought down. Little boys, not men. Boys being told they're not a man, or they don't know how to be a man. But they're in households with single mothers that didn't have a proper example of a father or a father figure, or what a man is like. So they're just going on the outside of the world. That's why I think a lot of men or boys go into gangs, because they're looking for a place where they feel masculine. Accepted?
Okay. Yeah, they want to feel accepted, because we're in a culture where they develop safe spaces for people's ideas. And so if you think differently than society, then they place you in a box. And so then you have to find your peers that think like you. And so now you realize that information, they begin to popularize information in a way that they commercialized it. So here's the commercialization of beauty. Here's the commercialization of man. Here's the commercialization of woman. Here's the commercialization of family. If you remember your sitcoms, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, or you might go back to Family Matters. And then when you go into that rendition of popularization of family, now you're looking for families that fit those boxes. And so then you begin to, like a shopper would in different genres or sections of a compliance store, you begin to pick pieces of your life through other people's lens. And so those lenses you have to fix. You have to begin to create new concepts on how you believe, or what you believe truly fits the narrative of your nature. Like, what speaks to your spirit, what speaks to God, what speaks to scripture, what speaks to who you are, who you was born as. And when you can begin to do that, and I know it can be difficult sometimes because some families are so broken up, like not only from the diaspora, of our African brothers and sisters, Akiba line for those who's conscious, but I'm saying the diaspora of the transatlantic slave trade that misplaced a bunch of black people and scattered our brothers and sisters on the face of this earth, that played a detrimental role of how families were disrupted to the corruption of slavery, involuntary servitude. So the black family dynamic has suffered a contagious pathology that has rubbed off for generations, and it has infected, and it has spread it rampantly into the intellect, and some into the just the spirit of what it means to love or be in a relationship. So like, when that is out the picture and anybody can place their illustration of what it means to be a definition of ... said man, like, you'll begin to commercialize yourself. And so that role model you was looking for, that became role playing. And so that's what happens. You begin to follow the role of someone else that's not even them. They're not even playing themselves. So who's playing who? You play yourself when you look towards someone else's information as a living testimony. No, your living testimony should be based on God. It should be based on your natural phenomenon, your natural experience, your natural expression that allows you to continue to create and develop. But you're not developing not only externally, but you're developing internally, so that when you give birth to a new version of yourself, between you and that woman that you correspond with, y'all will give birth to something, a replica of something different that's unlike this world, adjacent to but not corresponding with. And so, like, I think when you begin to think about what it means to tap in, what it means to be woke, you know what I'm saying, what it means to stay to always protest against conformity. Protest against conformity, that don't mean don't recognize someone's example. Like Queen Nadine said, extract what you need and then develop yourself with it. And that's what I was able to do. What do you think about the popularity of standardization?
I think that is the problem, because now a lot of people are looking at, for example, and I always say social media, because social media is such a huge part of our lives today, like our lifestyles. Like, people are becoming millionaires and billionaires based off of social media. So you do have to give credit to that, because it has a lot of power.
It do.
And in that, even in social media or the media, there's images of this is what a relationship should be, this, that, and the third. And it's like, no, God gave you guys, he gave his own blueprint for that relationship. So it works. Yes, you should keep the basic belief, the basic, how do I say this? You should keep the basic principles. Yeah, thank you. You should keep the basic principles of love, and then from that you'll be able to express love or love and be able to be in relationships or partnerships with people healthily. This is also in friendships too. It's not only platonic. I mean, it's not only romantic, but platonic as well. And then I also believe that one thing for me is, like, the Bible taught me what it is like to be a woman. Like a woman of God, Proverbs 31. To be what it's like. Like, God has already given us basically examples in the holy text that shows us. So safe society, everything is going haywire. God, if you go back to the text, you'll find, yes, they've altered certain things or whatever the case is, but you'll find God doesn't change. You know, his principle, his law, he's never changing. So you'll find what it is like, what it's to be a woman. Okay. Not saying, okay, not only the body, not only saying having a uterus, a womb, and our genetic makeup, but I'm talking about, yeah, like what is it? What does that be? What does it mean to be a woman? Like, and what should you look? What these are the characteristics that you should take on being a woman of God.
That's right.
And I love that that's what God did leave with us. Like,
That's
and
right.
He has kept with us in the script. Like, it's like, you know, this is if the world is telling you to go out and be and trick and to be, you know, reckless or whatever the case is, you have this text. I ain't changed. The world keeps changing, but stick to this. And this is what a woman, this is what you should be like, you know, cleanliness, you know, be able to have you know, be able to build, you know, I'm talking about like in housing, be able to plant, be able to provide and to nourish. This is woman, how she should carry herself.
Foster,
you know,
nurture.
All of those things. God is already, the Most High is already given us the blueprint for that. But if we are not taught, like I wasn't really told or taught, you know, look, Proverbs 31, that's the woman you want to be like.
Right.
It was never that. Like, it was just like, I can see these figures. Like, for example, Beyonce, she was a figure of a woman. She didn't teach me anything, honestly, but she was a figure of a woman. So you would say, oh, look, some people would look up to Beyonce and
incredible
Jay-Z.
talent. We're not taking away from people's talent, but
people would look up to Beyonce and Jay-Z's relationship, and it's like, I want to be like Beyonce and Jay-Z. I ain't never say I want to be like Beyonce and Jay-Z.
No.
I'm just saying, and the like their relationship, no one knows what the heck their relationship actually is. Like you know what I'm saying? All you know is that what's put on the front, like what they put out there, because they are able and they have the power to pay for things to get removed over the internet. They have the money for that. So whatever image they want to put out there is the image that they allow to be out there of themselves. They try to keep themselves clean. But behind closed doors in the elevators, as you can say,
it could be an internal mess.
It's a whole mess. So I don't really look for that as a thing. But that was like a relationship that everyone would kind of like, oh my gosh, focus on. Like, gotta be like Jay and you know, like Michelle and Barack. You know, no, I'm not trying to be like Michelle or Barack or Barack in their relationship. They're not couple goals. I see what they're trying to, with the image that they have, and they're trying to put out into the universe, or the image that they want people to see. But the actual ins and outs of their relationship, I don't know it. So I can't sit there and be like, this is the woman. I want to be like that. But when it comes to being powerful, walking in grace, you know, walking in excellence, never like those characteristics, I would say I looked up to women in that sense. Like there's certain things that I've admired other women or my peers, and there's certain characteristics that I admire about them, and attributes to them, and I'm like, this fits my description of what a woman would be, like a perfect woman. But even a perfect woman is still has flaws, and it's the flaws makes them even more. The flaws is what makes them perfect, because and that's what you know, for a man, it's like, even for me, it's like when it comes to men and stuff like that, I always thought like, okay, number one, men should provide. That was just what I saw in my example. Men should protect. That's what I saw.
That's nature
in my example. Men should lead. That's what I saw in my example. Men should you know, be able to have sources, be honorable. I don't know, be honorable, be respected. You want a man that's respected and honorable. That's the example that I had in my life. So those are things but there's other things that I was like, no, I'm not taking.
I don't accept it. I reject those,
you know what
deposits.
I'm but then there's other things in society where, example, is like when it came to men, it's like, oh, men should provide. Like you can, it could go two ways. Men should provide, so I'm gonna use all the men like, yo, provide. Or you can do, my man should provide. You know what I'm saying? That's the proper way. Your man should provide.
And a lot of people shouldn't be
providing.
And a lot of people shouldn't be begrudging about that either. Like you make a damn good point. But the example is God. Like God fashions himself in scripture as the bride and the groom. He does it. He does it all through scripture. He uses it as Jerusalem. He uses it in his revelations. He uses it as himself. God is the prototype of our marriage. The unification of your spouse is the unification of God. So the best thing to marry or be prepared for is if you was about to be in preparation of receiving God. So were you prepared for God when you seen him or her? You know what I mean? So you see that type of light, you would like to practice that light. But the only way you can practice that light is if you put that light against yourself. So how do I put that light against myself? Well, my against myself is in the fashion of God. So I say, how do I want to prepare myself for God? Okay, now be that way. And so I'm going to be that way in preparation of the God I want to receive, because I know if I'm being that way, I'm going to attract a person who's going to like the way I be, and then they're going to symmetrically unify that thought with me, and then we're going to be two with one, and that's God. And so we all going to be wrapped in that cloak of faith. We're going to be wrapped in that cloak of belief, and we're going to be working towards all of our life goals constituted in how we live. And so yeah, I believe that the best example is the preparation and reflection of how you would prepare to receive God.
So I have one, guys. We are at the restaurant. We are Carrabbas.
Yeah, I'm hungry, so
yes.
It's about that time.
But I do have one more question. So what is the message? Okay, and I can go first, or you can go first. Mm-hmm. The message that you would send, because there's people that don't. So this message here, this is the thing I want to say. This message is for the people that are looking, maybe for what is a man? What is the model of a man? What should I follow? Because you don't have a father figure in your household. Mm-hmm. You don't have a man of quality, or you might. So because there's people that do have fathers in their households, but that father is a drunk, or that father is abusive. So you know what you don't want to be like. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to be like this. If this is being a man, so they kind of, society or trauma shapes them into being a whole nother man, but it's based off of trauma, not based off of God. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know exactly
so this is for that man, that person, that boy growing up, trying to, and saying that we understand that. But let me tell you something: the Most High God, He's giving you He's given many examples, and He gave the example of sending His own son. This is my son. Great, and you follow him, follow Christ, and you'll be able to follow Jesus Christ, Yeshua, and you'll be able to see what a man should be like. Now that understanding that you're not going to be perfect, but just follow if you don't have any type of example. You know what I'm saying? In religion, that's why some people hate religion, right? Because they're like, religion it sucks. It puts you in a box. Some people have no foundation, so they need some type of foundation to be able to build a relationship with the Most High, and then be able to, that they need a foundation, because they have none. Not in their house, not in their home. They have nothing. So they need a religion, because they need some type of foundation, some type of a structure. That's why some people go to, people go to gangs. Some people go to the army. Some people go to the military. Some people go to college. They want some type of a structure, and helps them to be balanced. And for women, there's women with mothers that are horrible. Honestly, I'm saying that are unhealed. Not horrible, but they're unhealed. And there's men with unhealed mothers. Either way, and they're probably traumatized, because this is the example of a woman that you have. And you're like, I never want this to be my woman. So they kind of go totally opposite. There's black men that will never go with a black woman because they're traumatized by the trauma of their black mom. You know what I'm saying? Okay. And so it's for women, you have to. There's Proverbs 31. God already created in His holy books. There's there's examples that He's given, and for us to follow. So I think that this is for that person that is out there. I have no example. I don't know what the heck to do. I'm just trying to make this on my own, trying to make my own way, and whatever the case is, and you're lost. So I guess it's a great conversation.
It's an incredible conversation. And just to add to this structure thing, let me say this. Yeah, remember the devil is a lie. And so always remember this. Yeah, this free will thing. Have discernment in what you decide, because what you decide to believe in is going to be the path you choose in faith, in spirit, in peers, in friendships, in all walk of lives. You're opening doors to things, so you have to be careful. I'm not saying that you don't need a structure. I'm saying we have to grow our structure from the inside out. Know what your family dynamic is. Know what your temple is. Your first structure is the most fascinating structure that was ever created, the human body. It is the true temple. It is the infrastructure that is the most phenomenal, because it's like everything corresponds with each other exactly how everything corresponds with each other outside of yourself, outside of oneself. And so if you start tribal, and then you start to work yourself out locally, and then you may be thinking about maybe exploring a relationship with somebody, and you meet somebody there, and then you unify those thoughts, and then you start a family, and then that family turns into a community, and that community turns maybe into a district, and now you have a township, and this township becomes, the multitude of people under this one heartbeat, as we were talking about earlier, the ability to feel. But that beat is going to correspond with who your heart beats towards. See, because you can't open your heart to anybody, because then it could be poison. Or you can have an uncircumcised man of heart who isn't cut away from this world. And so you can have a lot of bad concepts entering the bloodstream of some of our youth that drinks from foreign, I would say I ain't gonna say foreign knowledge, but I'm saying anything outside your nature is alien. And I'm saying, so you got a lot of young children growing up with alien information coming to them, and it's like once they drink from it, their concept now becomes that of what it is. And so now they're going down the path of crime organizations or gang organizations, or any type of organization that brings a dissidence to the community. They're joining it in the idea of having stripes, or feeling like they're a man, or just following somebody, not knowing what they're doing, and just getting caught up in the vacuum. I've seen so many tragedy happen because the lack of men furthering the lives of other young men. And so that's what we run away from. We run away from the responsibility as men to further the lives of some of our young men that have no aim, have no purpose, haven't been shown an agenda, haven't been born with two parents that give balance. Probably was born with two parents that give balance, but didn't have enough information to shape them with. Maybe they lacked in education somewhere. Like, it's so many things that ops against our youth that we begin to lose sight of what we're teaching them. So yeah, even like to go back with the youth, like and we gonna come back to you
because
I'm hungry, y'all. We gotta
but like just to go back to the youth, it's like when it comes to even education, like you gotta think of like there's young men and women that are trying to be like, okay, I'm trying to have the brains, you know what I'm saying? Like, if anything in this world, I need to make sure I go to school and pass my test. Let me not get let me get an A, so I can get a pat on the back from my mother or my father, because this is what's gonna be great, And then now, if they're not succeeding in the system that's working against them, or it's not really a reflection of their brain, now they're failing and stuff like that. So they don't see, now in their household, it's like, oh man, you can't even try it, or you're just stupid. Or some mothers, like I experienced a youth, and they were like that their mom doesn't even believe in them. Yeah. So they don't, like, he was like to me, my mom doesn't believe anything that I do, like in anything that I do. I know that I'm smart and intelligent, but she don't believe in me. So why am I going to keep on trying? Like, it makes no sense. Like, why am I going to keep on fighting when she don't even believe in me? Like, it's nothing. I can just make it. He literally said that. He was like, I'll just make it. Like, I'm like, why? You are intelligent. Why are you just getting 50? You just literally getting 57 because 55 is a passing grade. Yeah. He's like, they said that's how I can make it. I'm like, you don't want to try to strive to be the better than that. Like,
Absolutely.
no, my mom doesn't even care. Like, my mom, she every time I try to do something, she's always bashed me down. So why am I going to try to succeed? So now you have a young man with full of so much potential that's not getting the right attention,
Nope.
love, or support by their own mother that birthed them.
Yep.
And now he's gonna be, I pray that not, but I'm saying he's more susceptible to being and falling into the traps of this society and this system.
Mm-hmm. So we need my challenge, me and Queen Nadine's challenge to all women and men, fathers, and those who aren't parents. I want to challenge to put together any type of program that can speak to the future of our children, and tell us some of your thoughts on it. Like send us your comments. We have ideas. We would love to collaborate ideas with people who are, who have inspiring visions for a greater tomorrow through our children. And me operating like I don't have any children, but there's been people that I came across that I believe I pray that I was able to affect them in a way that furthered them. And so as long as we're always thinking forward in that capacity, I think we can put some programs together. We can get some youth programs, some at-risk youth programs. We can get some reintegrating prison programs going on. We can start up some manhood training. We can start up some etiquette classes for boys and girls. We get some etiquette classes for women. We can get some studios open, get some things, the people involved. Get back to your expression, get back to your creativity, your originality, because we lost ourselves allowing us to adopt somebody else's thinking. So we need to get back to our own, find your drum, and we need to get back into how we used to create, because it's going to be a long ride under these administrations.
So stay prayed up, stay blessed and focused. It's Queen Nadine and Rayhan Lissette, and we are Wealthy Baggage. Have a blessed day.